Mr. Tubridy, the first question I have for you is, when you have a major guest coming on the show, how long does it take you to prepare for that?
Well, forgive me, it's an odd question. Do you mean on the night of a show?
No, come on, it's a good question. I just want to ask, how long does it take you to prepare for a major act coming on the Late Late Show?
It takes days and weeks.
Okay. This is a 39-page document, or just for people who are not aware what it looks like. This document was provided to us this morning. This came into our Microsoft Teams account this morning at 8:23, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
39 pages.
Yes.
The meeting commenced at 10:30 in private session here today.
Yes.
That's not that much time to go through 39 pages.
I understand.
Can you accept, just one second.
Yes.
Can you accept how it's not physically possible for anybody here to comprehensively go through that information?
That was unfortunate, and I have to say I do apologise to every single member of the committee for that. It has been a torturous 3 weeks.
No,
please allow me to finish the sentence.
Unfortunately,
but unfortunately, you have to. This what's gone missing in the last 3 weeks.
Just briefly.
Forgive me.
Yeah, just briefly.
There's been a humanity bypass a bit here. Okay, so I just bear with us. We have worked tirelessly to put this document together.
Okay.
And we got it in when we could, and I apologise.
Thank you.
Look, I appreciate your apology and accept it. And you know what? Purely from a human perspective, I think all of us here understand this is difficult. We're politicians. We know what it's like. Okay, to be dragged through the river. And unfortunately, you know, this is the next point of questioning I wanted to come to anyway, Mr. Tubridy. So you have moved on to that properly. Look, the reason this has erupted is because of the work that was done by the report, by the audit that was identified the pay arrangements, and which we've discussed already with the Executive Board of RTE. I just want to get a clear picture. When did you first become aware of the, I suppose, issues that were brought to light through the audit that was carried out? When did you first get knowledge of that audit being carried out?
I'm going to say, what are we on now? July, June, maybe just when they started to be honest with you, when they issued the statement was when I really became engaged in this story. I had no idea this thing was
just
going
to clarify, I think that's a really important question. I'm not trying to trip you up.
No, I appreciate that. I'm telling you the truth myself.
When did you become aware that that report was being carried out?
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
I'm just asking you once again. I just want to ask you in relation to the report that was carried out.
Yes, of course.
When did you become aware of the Grant Thornton report?
The 26th of June, 2023.
Okay, so the 26th of June, 2023 was the very first time that you had knowledge
that
the
I
Grant
had
Thornton
knowledge,
report was being done. And can I ask that in relation, the same question, in relation to Mr. Kelly? Obviously, if they were delving into the pay arrangements, which they did highlight concerns with, was that the same for you?
No, for us it was in May. We had a meeting with Grant Thornton, and there was
May 23. Is that correct?
May 23. That we had a meeting with Grant Thornton.
Is that the first time that documents were requested from your agency, your company, in relation to Mr. Tubridy's pay?
On the 3rd of May, RTE Legal emailed us and asked us about invoice queries. On the 26th of May, RTE Legal wrote to us and said that Grant Thornton were investigating the process. 31st of May, we met with Grant Thornton and discussed everything with them. On 23rd of June was RTE's first statement, and then 26th of June, we only received the report. We only received the report on the 26th of June. We didn't get a copy of the report.
Okay. And when did you first alert Mr. Tubridy that the report was being carried out, and that perhaps you may have had concerns?
Was it the 22nd of June? The 22nd of June, when the statement came out from RTE, the statement, and then they released the report. We didn't even have the report.
Yeah.
And so at that stage, that's what we were saying. So that happened on the Thursday. And then it was 4 days later before they put in the correction saying that there was no wrongdoing on behalf of Ryan Tubridy ourselves. And then at that stage, Ryan was off air, and so the whole thing. So had they, what did you say, not be so hasty, or that there was...
If they hadn't rushed everything out, 99% of this whole thing wouldn't be an issue, because we would have given them everything they wanted if they simply asked questions.
The reason I want to ask you this question, I think it's for your own benefit, Mr. Tubridy, right? And I know that you may feel I'm being some way indignant with you, but I'm not.
Not at all. I totally understand what you're saying.
The reason I'm asking it is because it's crucial to us understanding and verifying that
Please
your
ask. I
information
don't
is
mind
correct,
at all.
that it was nothing to do with your decision to step down from the Late Show.
Sorry,
That's why I'm asking.
You're trying to clarify the latest.
No. That's clarified. I'm content with that.
I'm happy to hear
The next
that.
thing I want to move on to is in relation to the deal surrounding Renault. So in 2020, the first year of the deal, correct to say, was 2021, wasn't that right?
Yeah, the first year should have been 2020, and then it would have been 2021 up to 24. But obviously with COVID, there was no events on 20 or 21. So the first lot of events actually happened in 22 when we had the first road shows out in Cork, Dublin, Drogheda.
And at what stage were you informed by Renault that they were not going to continue on with their part of the deal in relation to the pandemic, the outbreak of the pandemic, and their withdrawal from that, and subsequently RTE stepping in and providing the funding to fill in the gap?
No, they never stepped back from the arrangement. Renault was still the sponsor, and it was like at no stage was it going to be RTE.
But when I say step back from the arrangement, that as we've discussed here already, the money was paid by RTE. That's 75,000, correct?
No, the money was paid by Renault.
Yes, but in terms of the latter half of that, where Mr. Tubridy was not participating,
they were paid by Astas.
They were paid by Astas.
Yeah.
Which effectively, that's what we need to get an understanding of. What work was done in return for that in the later years during the pandemic in 2022?
Sure. So, as I said, the first three that were supposed to be done in 20 were done in 22. So there's still 6 road shows owed for 20 and 21, or if you like 23, 24. So they're still under contract to do those road shows.
So you're saying to me that those are owed, that you have to go on and do them subsequently, but it was paid. You were paid in advance, Mr. Tubridy.
Yes, the service is outstanding. I absolutely am good to that.
No, I must ask, from the point of view of reputational damage, right, and I think this is key, did you not assess that going into the pandemic, and we all know how difficult it was, and you broadcast throughout it with great admiration and respect from the population, but did you in any way say to yourself, this is a dangerous situation, because the published figures in relation pertaining to my salary that have been published in newspapers, I think the Irish Independent were publishing those figures, were not reflective of your actual take-home pay. And I have heard the evidence that you provided and what you've said.
Yes.
At the end of the day, there was a tripartite agreement there involving the national broadcaster in RTE with Renault and yourselves. But did you not ask yourself the question, maybe it's just not wise for me to be taking this money at this point in time, considering what was going on in the country?
Yep, I think it's a fair observation, and I probably should have been a bit more inquisitive about these things.
You never asked any questions in relation to that.
I say what I say. I should have been more inquisitive. It's a fair point.
Deputy, can I just answer there? This contract was written before COVID. So it was just then COVID happened. So this was starting in 2020.
To be fair, Mr. Kelly,
and then COVID started.
But hang on a second, Mr. Kelly. To be fair, my line of questioning is reflecting that. But I'm just asking in relation to the outbreak of COVID, was it really necessary that this arrangement in some shape or form remained in place, where ultimately, the taxpayers' money involved in RTE as an organisation was being used to supplement Mr. Tubridy's income? That's the perception here we need to deal with.
No, that's the perception, but that's not the reality.
Okay.
This was a contract with Renault for services, and RTE and Renault are the parties.
Those services were not provided, but the payment was made.
To be honest with you, by 2022, they all would have been provided if COVID wasn't there.
We know that. 3 years, certainly. We know that.
So now there's 6 road shows owed.
Okay. Can I just ask in relation to the negotiations around pay, this is important because we did discuss it with the RTE Executive Board. They were not very forthcoming with answers. And now there is a very wide chasm between the information that you've provided us with us today and what they've given us previously. But I want to ask, who in the Executive Board of RTE was involved in those pay negotiations?
Who in the Executive Board?
Yes, was present and involved.
Again, you'd have the head of TV, head of radio, they'd say, right, we want these hours, we want those hours, and then they discuss that with the CFO, with the relevant accountants. And look, as I said, there's lots of accountants and lawyers, everything else. So they would all have their conversations, and then they would come back. And my job is to get the best deal from.
I'm so sorry. But
you
you
know.
didn't answer my question.
No, so-
I'm
so
going to
who-
ask
so
you
no,
again,
that's what I said.
who
So-
was
so
present from the
who
executive
would-
board of
who would
RT
have been-
for
would
these
have been
negotiations?
there, Breda, Trish, so the CFO, legal, and then if there was an impasse, if there was an impasse,
Take a minute to read it, it's okay.
sure. So sorry. So you'd have Breda O'Keefe, Dee Forbes, ourselves, our lawyer, and Jim Jennings from the exec.
Okay, look, I acknowledge my time is up, but I can come back subsequently.
Okay, thank you.